So let me share the screen and then we'll start. Okay,
Sure.
Here we go. Okay, Ishan Prabhu, if you can take over, we'll take turns.
Okay. At least let's say Namam Vishnu
Vishnu
Padaya,
Padaya,
Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta, Swaminiti Nam, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pracharini, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya Deshatari, Hare Krishna.
Krishna,
And Sri Krishna Chaitanya,
Chaitanya,
Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaur
Gaura
Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Okay. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, with translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We're reading from the first canto, the 5th chapter, text number 23. Aham pura tita bhave vamune dasyas tu kasyaschana veda varinam nirupito balaka eva yoginam shrusane pravrishi nirvivikshatam. Aham, I, Pura, formerly, Atita Bhave, in the previous millennium, Abhavam became Mune, O Muni, Dasya, of the maidservant, to, but, Kasyashchana, certain, Vedavadinam, of the followers of Vedanta, Nirupita, engaged, Balaka, boy servant, Eva, only yoginam of the devotees, Shrushrushane, in the service of Pravrishi during the 4 months of the rainy season. Nirvivikshatam, living together. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O Muni, this is Narada Muni is talking to Srila Vyasadeva and explaining how he became Narada Muni. O Muni, he's calling Srila Vyasadeva Muni as well. In the last millennium, I was born as the son of a certain maidservant, engaged in the service of Brahmanas who were following the principles of Vedanta. And when they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. Report by Srila Prabhupada. The wonder of an atmosphere surcharged with devotional service to the Lord. Maybe if I'm going to speak a lot, which I usually tend to do because I can't help myself, but maybe one of you should read the purport. Just,
Rupa, can you read the purport? Rupa Manjari, she's a very good reader.
All right. The wonder of an atmosphere surcharged with devotional service to the Lord is briefly described herein by Sri Narada Muni. He was the son of the most insignificant parentage. He was not properly educated. Still, because his complete energy was engaged in the service of the Lord, he became an immortal sage. Such is the powerful action of devotional service. The living entities are the marginal energy of the Lord, and therefore they are meant for being properly utilized in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. When this is not done, one's situation is called Maya. Therefore, the illusion of Maya is at once dissipated as soon as one's full energy is converted in the service of the Lord instead of in sense enjoyment. From the personal example of Sri Narada Muni in his previous birth, it is clear that the service of the Lord begins with the service of the Lord's bona fide servants. The Lord says that the service of his servants is greater than his personal service. Service of the devotee is more valuable than the service of the Lord. One should therefore choose a bona fide servant of the Lord, constantly engaged in his service, accept such a servant as the spiritual master, and engage himself in his, the spiritual master's, service. Such a spiritual master is the transparent medium by which to visualize the Lord, who is beyond the conception of the material senses. By service of the bona fide spiritual master, the Lord consents to reveal himself in proportion to the service rendered. Utilization of the human energy in the service of the Lord is the progressive path of salvation. The whole cosmic creation becomes at once identical with the Lord as soon as service in relation with the Lord is rendered under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. The expert spiritual master knows the art of utilizing everything to glorify the Lord, and therefore, under his guidance, the whole world can be turned into the spiritual abode by the divine grace of the Lord's servant.
Jai. Amazing.
It says, it reminds me the last line that when we engage in devotional service, the expert spiritual master knows the art. Under his guidance, the whole world can be turned into the spiritual abode of the divine by the divine grace of the Lord's servant. It's like in the Bible, it says, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." How? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. So this is what Srila Prabhupada is also telling us, that if we take up the chanting of the holy name, the whole world can be turned into a spiritual abode. Higher up, Srila Prabhupada writes, the Lord says that service of his servants is greater than his personal service. Service of the devotee is more valuable than the service of the Lord, and one should therefore choose a bona fide servant who is constantly engaged in his service, in the Lord's service, and accept such a servant as the spiritual master, and engage himself in the spiritual master's service. Such a spiritual master is the transparent medium by which to visualize the Lord, who is beyond the conception of the material senses. And by service of the bona fide spiritual master, the Lord consents to reveal himself in proportion to the service rendered. Well, this is all very wonderful. And this is all very
simple.
This is simple, and this is the process. There's no way we can engage ourselves directly in Krishna's service. But what is the phrase he used?
Transparent via medium.
Yes, transparent medium by which to visualize the Lord. So how do we see of a transparent via media, like a pair of glasses is a transparent via media. We see things through the pair of glasses. It brings things into focus for those whose eyes are not perfect. In the same way, to see Krishna or to see God through Srila Prabhupada as if he were the pair of glasses by which we can actually bring vision of Krishna into focus. How? So there's one verse, I believe in Brahma Samhita, perhaps elsewhere, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Valochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokiyanti Yam Shamasundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. And this verse says that there's a certain kind of ointment that if we have this ointment on our eyes, we can see Krishna. And he said this ointment, Srila Prabhupada calls it the salve of love of God, that one who has the salve of love of God on the eyes, of course, Srila Prabhupada is speaking very poetically. It's not like you go to the pharmacy and the drugstore and buy some ointment. But he's speaking very poetically that if our eyes have this salve of love of Krishna, where Krishna, he's Ajita, means unconquerable, but he's Jita, he's conquered by the love of his devotee. He simply cannot resist. As Srila Prabhupada said, we can purchase Krishna with our love. So here, the idea is that as Srila Prabhupada becomes our glasses, our by which we can bring the Lord into focus, because his eyes, he becomes our eyes, because his eyes have this salve of love of God. And he can see Krishna, and he can give us that vision of Krishna. So the whole process then, and Krishna says, therefore, that if we want to see him, we have to approach him through his pure devotee, just like if you want to see a very big man, you can approach his secretary or his receptionist. The receptionist takes a very humble position, but at the same time, the receptionist alone, the receptionist alone can let you in or not let you in. And if you make a disturbance, of course, the receptionist can press a button on or underneath the desk and bring the security guard. So one has to have the right approach and know how to approach the secretary. And the secretary can very easily open that door. And this process is being explained here. And there's no other way. In other words, or Krishna sends his confidential servant, his dearly beloved confidential servant, to receive our service on his behalf, and to train us also in the process of devotional service. And when he's satisfied, he blesses us. In chapter 4, 34 of Bhagavad Gita, verse 30. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that when the spiritual master is pleased, he automatically blesses the disciple with spiritual knowledge, with spiritual revelation. So nice. So this, to think about it a little bit, that we have to please Srila Prabhupada. That it's not simply that, you know, if you get some instructions how to do this or that in some booklet, you assemble this piece of equipment. They don't ship it to you all put together. It saves space to ship, and then when you receive, you assemble it, whatever it is, a cabinet, a set of drawers or shelves. This is very common practice. So it's not simply by following the instructions that that you now have the shelf, and Krishna sits on the shelf. But you actually, there's a relationship with the spiritual master that's more confidential, that he has to be pleased by us and by our sincere desire and by our sincere attempt to practice and to, as will be explained in the next two verses in Srila Prabhupada's purport, that this student actually imbibes the taste of devotion from the bona fide spiritual master. These are Srila Prabhupada's very words in that poet. He says that we learn from him in a very specific way. We learn from him. It's amazing to think like that. He shares his heart with us. His heart is filled with Krishna, and he shares his devotional feelings with us. And Srila Prabhupada writes in text 25 that the student imbibes the taste of love of God in the association of Krishna, of the spiritual master or the pure devotee. And when he gets this taste, which he gets from the spiritual master, he shares his heart with it, with the sincere disciple. This is very amazing to understand. And if we can catch that up and then begin to practice Krishna consciousness in that same mood. Therefore, it's explained that one should practice Krishna consciousness under the guidance of a pure devotee of the Lord. This is how, it's also said in different places, one should practice Krishna consciousness in the association of a pure devotee of the Lord, under the guidance, in the association, under the direction of, this is all very intimate. I was reading one purport today where Srila Prabhupada said that the disciple has to have, he used a different word. He said the disciple has to have a very thick relationship with the spiritual master, a very thick. He said he was talking about how we control ourselves, how we control our mind and our senses. And he says, how can you do it? You can't, if you try and do it by your own determination, Srila Prabhupada says, it won't endure. It won't be enough. You won't have the power or the strength to control your senses. But he says, so how how is it that he's always the student would always be thinking, how will my spiritual master be pleased? He said, what enables the student to really feel that way? He says, the only way is that he has genuine love for his spiritual master. He said, because when you have love for somebody, and you really desire to please them, well, there's no struggle not to do something else. You automatically just, and he says, and this is what gives. So when we learn from him, when he shares with us his devotional feelings, and we begin to practice Krishna consciousness under his guidance, meaning that his feelings become our feelings. Oh, to the degree that we can imbibe that taste. He says, you imbibe that taste in 525 in the next two. You imbibe, he says, that makes all other tastes distasteful, all material taste. It's the same thing that the devotees chant every morning in the temples. Prema bhakti aha hoite avidya vinashayate. From him, this love of Krishna, it emanates like sunshine emanates from the sun planet. And he says, avidya, by him ignorance is destroyed. How is it destroyed? That if we can catch those rays of sunshine and they reflect them out of our own hearts, then our ignorance is destroyed, because our taste for everything non-Krishna becomes distasteful. So the same message is said in different words in different places. So on the one hand, we approach the pure devotee, our spiritual master, with, just like it says in our songbook, one song by Bhakti Vinod Thakur, I offer you all respect, for thus I may have the energy by which I can know you correctly. Then, by chanting the holy name in great ecstasy, all my offenses will cease. If we approach the spiritual master, our pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, with an open heart, we can begin to understand how he feels. He shares his Krishna, his joy, his joyful enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness, and his inconceivable desire to share this with all living beings. That's all he lives for, just to share Krishna consciousness with the conditioned souls. That's his only desire. Inconceivable kindness, mercy. So if we can imbibe from him the taste of Krishna consciousness, and in his association, when we were children, nonsense children, 20 years old, before we met our spiritual master, taking psychedelic drugs was very common in those days. And where they had what was called a contact high. A contact high meant that if you did not have some of those psychedelic drugs in your system, but if you were in touch with somebody who was very much intoxicated, by being in their association, you became intoxicated also. That it has an energy, as association. Therefore, it says, association is like a crystal stone, like a mirror. that reflects whatever is in front of it. So this is the way it works. So if one can have association or contact with a pure devotee and invite the taste of their devotion, in that association, to practice Krishna consciousness. Feeling their devotion means to be in their association. And to be in their association means to feel Krishna conscious. They're inseparable. So then if we practice in that association, if we can be in that association nicely, but we're knowing it, just like we're grateful to have received that kindness from him, we're engaging in that way for his pleasure. That, oh, this disciple is learning from me. He's chanting Hare Krishna. She's chanting Hare Krishna under my guidance, trying to learn from me. So Srila Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita 4:34 that when he sees that the devotee is very, what is the word he used? Submissive. Submissive oral reception. Submissive. Submissive means I give up my egotistical, I have nothing to offer. I just empty myself. I want to feel your presence. That's what I want. That I want to learn from. Please share with me your love of Krishna. That's submissive. He says when the devotee, he sees that the student is submissive and ready to render service in that submissive way with that taste that we're learning from him, then he automatically, Srila Prabhupada says, the spiritual master is by nature very kindly disposed. And when he sees that the disciple is submissive and ready to render service, oh, he's very pleased and he blesses the devotee with more understanding. This is progressive. So this association with, this is the sum and substance. Now there are two different ways. One can be sadhan siddha or kripa siddha. Of course, there's nitya siddha, and that's the pure devotee who comes to us from the spiritual sky. He's never under the influence of the material energy, but we are. We're conditioned. Okay, there's two meanings to the word condition. In the 20th century, they had this psychologist in the university were talking about conditioning. It means that you can train a dog to salivate, like Pavlov was making experiments. You can train a dog to salivate if you, every time before you give him food, you ring a bell and then you give him the food. So then if you ring the bell and you don't give food, he begins to salivate, and that's called conditioning. This is not what Srila Prabhupada means by condition. So it doesn't mean that the dog is conditioned in that way. That's not what means conditioned in Krishna consciousness. Conditioned soul, it means differently. It means that we're subject to the conditions of the material nature. It's like a legal contract or legal agreement. You make a contract and you say, subject to these conditions. We We wanted to enjoy separately from Krishna. We wanted to enjoy in the material world. And Srila Prabhupada says we made it like making a not a successful, not a good business deal. He said it's a bad bargain. We've made a bad bargain. And there are conditions. Yes, you can have this independence, but along with it, you'll have certain conditions. What are those conditions? You'll have to accept a material body with the threefold miseries, the miseries of the mind, and the body, the miseries that other living entities give us to our mind and body, and the miseries of providence. And today in the news, there are hurricanes, there are floods, there are famines, there are viruses, diseases, there are wars. These things are there. So earthquakes and volcanoes and tidal waves. So these are threefold miseries and fourfold miseries that no matter how good or successful by material standards our life is in the material world, there's the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. And these are the conditions. So we are conditioned souls. So
I'd like to raise some questions, Prabhu.
Shoot.
So yes, in this paragraph, which I've highlighted here, I will read, then I will elucidate the question. Here Srila Prabhupada writes, the wonder of an atmosphere surcharged with devotional service to the Lord is briefly described herein by Sri Narada Muni. He was the son of the most insignificant parentage. He was not properly educated. Still, because his complete energy, he's saying complete energy was engaged in the service of the Lord, he became an immortal sage. Such is the powerful action of devotional service. So, my question is, this atmosphere surcharged with devotional service, which you probably experienced in your Krishna consciousness, being with Srila Prabhupada and serving him. So, and here, Narada Muni is talking about association with such personalities. He's talking about physical association, and he's not talking about that, Vani association, right? First of all, that is one point. And secondly, here, Prabhupada is saying...
Say that again. Please say that again. He's not talking about what?
I'm talking about here, he's talking about a Vapu association, meaning that he was engaged in their personal service here. Srila Prabhupada writes somewhere, personal service here. Where was it? Right here. See it here?
Yeah.
I was engaged in the personal service. Right?
Yeah.
So,
right.
This, and then Narada Muni is saying that because I was engaged in their personal service, I'm paraphrasing, and by their mercy, I have acquired this state. So it seems that the personal association of the pure devotee has a lot of prominence when you talk about Vani and Vapu. We understand that Vani is important, but the Vapu potency of the pure devotee is also very powerful for the right person. I mean, like you have constantly said that many people took pure devotee association, but what did they do? They misused that point, that they misused that association. But for a person who's ready for that association, it seems like it's very uplifting for them.
So there's a stress amongst our contemporaries, our peers,
Yes.
in Krishna consciousness that Vani is more important than Bhakti. But there's a reason for that. There's a very good reason for that. If we look at the prayers of Narottam Das Thakur in our songbook, our prayer book, what is he expressing? He's saying that where he came after so many of Lord Chaitanya and his associates had departed. And he said, where is my Swarup Damodar? Where is this one? My Rupa Goswami? Where is... All I can do is, I feel so bereft because I cannot have their personal association, that I feel only to smash my head on the rocks. To smash my head on the... He's feeling such grief that he cannot have that association. And there are other prayers in our books that say similar. So why is it that the Vani is stressed over the Vapu? As Srila Prabhupada explains, two things. One is that the Acharya, he has to, he can make changes at his discretion according to the time, place, circumstance, the culture, the people he's dealing with. He has to adjust, just like Srila Prabhupada put women devotees on the altar, gave them Brahman initiation. As a sannyasi, he performed marriages. He's not supposed to have any social connection with social dude. He's not supposed to travel or leave India, and he took planes and boats. So and in this way, he's criticized for breaking. So Srila Prabhupada writes, and I think you'll recall passages like this, that neophyte devotees, one of the qualities, they cannot recognize a real devotee. They don't know who he is, nor can they understand who he is. And therefore, again and again and again in our book, we will find that where he counsels us and warns us, we should not see the Acharya as an ordinary human being, quote unquote, ordinary human. We should not see him and think of him in terms of his external appearance.
Yes.
No, we should try to understand the nectar of instruction. Srila Prabhupada writes, that the disciples should try to understand the internal feeling of the pure devotee. But because we're not capable, and because we do not understand the science of Krishna consciousness the way we have been describing it tonight, we think of he says, we're not capable of imbibing the taste of his devotion. We don't even know, 99.9% of us don't even know that this is the process of Krishna consciousness. They don't know. Therefore, they're thinking that it's a mechanical process, and if I do ABC, and I keep the regulative principles, that one day I'll have a blessing of some sort. They actually think like this. This is called sadhan siddha. We started to mention it. Sadhan siddha means someone who does all of these rules and regulations 100% perfect. He can go to Vaikuntha planet.
Hmm.
He cannot go to Krishna Loka because he has not imbibed the taste. He has not received the blessing of Lord Chaitanya's Sampradaya that is sharing the taste of the devotional feelings of the residents of Krishna
Vrindavan.
Loka.
Hmm.
You can't learn them by being sadhansita. One can only learn them from a pure devotee. Actually, no other avatar is distributing the taste of Krishna Loka Rasa. No other avatar besides Lord Chaitanya, and he's distributing them through being situated in those feelings and sharing them through his person, through his kirtan. And it's explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita that one can receive that same vibration from the pure devotee today who's in the parampara from Lord Chaitanya. So even if the people could do, which is very, very unlikely that anyone could do, sadhansita, the real business is kripa siddha. And what is that kripa? It is receiving the mercy, the benediction from the pure devotee of the Lord. And what is that mercy? That he's sharing prema bhakti ahoite. From him, this Krishna, love of Krishna is coming. So this was in response to what you were asking me. So ask me the question again.
So my question was that it seems that the Vapu association of the pure devotee is also very powerful.
So no people, our God brothers, God sisters, they have no idea what we're talking about.
Hmm.
They're trying to become sadhansita. And they're not having very much taste, so they can't be controlled. They can't control themselves. As we were saying early, the control comes when the love is there. That's the only thing that can by which one becomes controlled. If one has a really loving feeling for the spiritual master, automatically they become controlled because their only desire is to please the person they love.
Hmm.
It's not a battle.
Yes,
There's
yes.
no battle to control themselves. Their desire to love him automatically frees them from their material desires.
Right.
So he said that they have to become, but because they don't have because our peers, our contemporary devotees do not understand the science of, therefore Srila Prabhupada said, please read my book.
Hmm.
I was in the room with Srila Prabhupada and this other devotee who was a GBC, and he asked Srila Prabhupada, what is this prayaschita? Means, I forget the exact word, like penance or something. He says that
Atonement.
atonement. He says the atonement is read my books, because they don't understand the books. So Srila Prabhupada sometimes makes the joke, you may have heard many times, that he sarcastically says that there's no sarcasm like Srila Prabhupada's sarcasm. That when you're distributing the books in the airport to these people and they ask you, do you read these books? You say, oh no, we don't read them, we just distribute them. Why would Srila Prabhupada say a thing like this? So, because we didn't read his books. So the books explain the science and we have to learn by studying the books. What is this science? That's what we're talking about. But because they don't have taste and they don't know how to get taste, they don't know how to associate with the pure devotee. And Srila Prabhupada says it's dangerous for these neophytes even to be near the pure devotee.
Hmm.
Be- because they can't appreciate who he is or how to associate with him. Therefore, he said, just keep these instructions. That's all they're capable of understanding.
Yeah.
But a real student will want that association. It's not that Vapu is less important than Vani. It's like saying the form of Krishna is less important than Bhagavad Gita.
This atheism.
That Bhagavad Gita, the instructions of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita are important, but Krishna's real form, that's not important.
Yeah.
No, but but if somebody doesn't know how to approach Krishna, what is the use? What is the use of putting that murti on the altar? So
Yeah.
there are rules. The rules are so so it's not that the Vapu is not as important. There's no difference between Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's instruction. There's no difference between Bhagavad Gita and Krishna. There's no difference.
So
The whole spiritual world, yes.
So another thing is that you have said that there's no difference between Vani and Vapu when we're dealing with the absolute platform or absolute truth, right? So a person who's watching Prabhupada's video or reading his original books 2,000 years from now, 10,000 years from now, if he can understand this point, that there's no difference, and they imbibe this mood that, oh, Prabhupada is here in his sound vibration. It's just as important as he was here telling me, you do this, you do it like this. They have a very solid foundation in Krishna consciousness.
There's no other way. Srila Prabhupada says that Lord Chaitanya shared love of God through kirtan. And those who heard him became overwhelmed with love of God, feelings of love of God. And when they began to chant in that way, others became infected with that feeling. And this is our disciplic succession. And one can hear the chanting of Lord Chaitanya through our disciplic succession. So this is there and it will always be there. But the students have to become qualified to be able to, just like association is like a crystal stone, Srila chapter 12 in Nectar of Devotion. In other words, like a mirror that will reflect whatever is placed before. In the same way, our heart, by association with a pure devotee, will reflect the quality of love of Krishna. But there only is a condition. The mirror has to be clean.
Yes.
It's written right there on the last page of chapter 12, that we have to be pure enough to be able to reflect. And this is Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, that poem in our songbook. It says that the moon of reflection, the light of the moon of Rupa Manjari shines into my heart and it reflects to Krishna Loka. What is he saying? That from the pure devotee one imbibes the taste of love.
Chai.
And then, so this, and how do we, and also the sadness, Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the mercy of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, no one can make any advance. Bhakti. Therefore, I must always offer my repeated 3 times a day, but not 3 times a day. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, "When you who are absorbed in tasting the nectar of the name, when will I hold your lotus feet to my heart until the end of time? When, oh, when will that day be mine?" In other words, this is the position of a devotee who understands that this is the only way to learn how to love Krishna. But I'm not fixed up enough to stay in that position. When will I be able to maintain that kind of association?
This is very important because coming in material life, we never experience genuine loving feelings from anyone. You know, most of us come from broken families, this, that, and this past conditionings that have, we have taken birth in, sometimes is an impediment if the right understanding is not given to the students in the beginning. For example, you're telling me all this, I can somewhat understand it because, I have some, maybe a little experience, in this, but uh, people who have a lot of conditioning, it might be very difficult for them. They can continue like this for many lives. And you, just like you have mentioned, some of these things you have just in the past few years you have come across. This loving reciprocation towards the spiritual master is a genuine mood that needs to be cultivated.
So then, how one point that is very important. Yes, what were you going to say? You want to say?
No, I forgot, Prabhu. Yes, one point is very important. Yes, you're going to say?
Okay. Is that our peers, our God brothers, God sisters, what have you. And I don't put any, generation, people should show respect, blah, 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 senior God brother. It's not important. Prahlad Maharaj was 5 years old, etc. In other words, there can be somebody 5 or 10 years old, and he could be my teacher, my guru, if he was qualified. So, what were we talking? I lost my train of thought. You were talking about something specific. Oh yes. How do we get that taste? So the devotees are thinking that there's no love in this material world.
Yeah, some devotees are thinking like that.
But they're not understanding it in context. When love is directed towards illusory objects of affection, including things that will please our senses, right, or other people who, infatuation, man and woman, or even family connections.
Yes.
Although it's natural, Srila Prabhupada says, but in a Krishna conscious context, it has some value. But if there's no Krishna consciousness, what's the value of family? People want to serve their country. People want to serve their dog or their cat. People want to whatever. Or people want to, I have a false ego. I want to be liked by, I want a nice social position. I want respect. I want to, in society, respect because I have a PhD, or I respect because I'm very wealthy, or respect for I'm very beautiful. that beauty. Srila Prabhupada talks about that beauty. So he tells the story of the beautiful woman. The man wanted the relationship. She said, come back in so many days. You may know the story.
Liquid
And
beauty,
she
Prabhupada calls it.
took purgative. Yeah, liquid beauty, purgatives. And the man came back and said, where's that beautiful woman? And he says, oh, that's me. She said, oh, no, it can't be you. No, she says, I have extracted all of my beauty for you. It's here in this bucket or what have you. So, but we're thinking, so, but the point is, so when Srila Prabhupada says no love in the spirit, in the material world, he means when love is misplaced, and not applied properly or applied towards illusory objects of affection, my body, my senses, my social position, etc. The things that cannot endure are totally fabrications of the material energy and will return into mud and water again. And we're trying to hold them near and dear. So then it's not called love, it's called lust. In that sense, there's no love. But the emotion itself is not wrong, but the object of affection is mistaken.
Object
That discrimination of our affection, whether it's my senses or my relationships or my this or my that or my social, all these things. The affection is not invalid. What's invalid is the object of my affection. As Srila Prabhupada says, you already have this love in your heart. Now, therefore, Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness, you can be in a second. It's simply a question of understanding and accepting. What does that mean? It means he's explaining what is the real object of our affection. And take this same affection and put it here. And you can do it right now. And there's no question of having to be advanced. There's no question of advanced. It's a question of understanding and accepting. So if we really accept, so do we really accept? So what is acceptance? Does acceptance mean that it's a nice philosophy? I like the concept. No, acceptance means I really believe it. And I'm not only I really believe it, but what's being offered? Eternal life, dancing with Krishna, wrestling with Krishna in the pasture ground, playing games, so many things. And with in an atmosphere where there's no birth and death, where everyone's ecstatic, and what is the price for getting it? To accept it, to totally embrace it in a joyful spirit. Wow, I can have this. So this is the price to understand and accept. So then, okay, this is where, if we really accept, then this becomes the object of our affection. Oh, we have such great gratitude. Oh, look at what it say. You're chanting the holy name. And Srila Prabhupada says, when you're chanting the holy name, Krishna is completely present. Radharani is completely present. And that we have intimate association with Radha and Krishna just by making that sound vibration. If we contemplate that while we're chanting, how could we possibly be inattentive? We'd be so amazed that from Krishna comes so many expansions down to Mahavishnu. From Mahavishnu comes trillions upon unlimited universes. And from those trillions in each universe, trillions of galaxies, and in each galaxy, trillions of planets, and on each planet, trillions of individual souls. Krishna is so great, and he's allowing an insignificant person like me to have his personal association right there in the holy name. So, so when I chant the holy name, I should be contemplating like, but so this is how much do we accept it? If we really accept it, we will fall down on the ground. You know, sometimes I receive emails from people, other devotees, Dandavat Pranam. You know, a danda is a stick, a rod. That the sannyas. Dandavat means like a stick, I'll fall before you and offer my respect. If we actually accept that Krishna's presence is there in the holy name, like that, Dandavat Pranam will fall like a stick before that sound vibration. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada writes in Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, chapter 18, the last page of the chapter, the process is that the pure devotee spiritual master chants the mantra, and if the disciple begins to chant with equal respect for that holy name, that becomes the worship of the holy. What is that equal respect? Well, we know what Srila Prabhupada feels about the holy name. He tells us Radha and Krishna are present in that holy name. He says, chant with priti, with love, chant that holy name. Not that, oh, I have this duty. I'm quoting now. Oh, I have this duty to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He says, no, not, he says with love, because they're present. Here's Radha, here's Krishna. So if we chant with that respect, so it's simply a question of understanding and accepting. So that our accepting has to go deeper than conceptual acceptance. We like this philosophy. It has to be heartfelt acceptance. We have to embrace this philosophy.
Right.
And then chant with equal respect. So these things are there. Again, how are we going to get this, understand his mood? So then this is going on to verse 25. Srila Prabhupada is going to talk about how we get his mood of acceptance, how we can, he actually says, if you really associate with a pure devotee, if you really associate with, like Narada Muni is saying that he had their association. Srila Prabhupada says, if you really associate intimately, he said, pure devotion is as much infectious in a good sense as an infectious disease. That's the first sentence in purport to verse 25. You got to get infected. You got to catch it from him. Pure devotion is as much infectious in a good sense as infectious diseases. So then scroll down a little. The neophyte devotee becomes enriched with the transcendental qualities of the pure devotee. And then he explained further, infection of the qualities of the pure devotee means to imbibe the taste of devotion. you become infected with his love of Krishna. By associating with him, you imbibe or drink in or absorb from him the taste of devotion. And look at what happens when you do that. This prema bhakti ahoite avidya vinashayate. By him ignorance is destroyed. How? This transcendental taste makes all material things distasteful. That is from him, Krishna, love of Krishna emanates like lights come in from the sun, or he has the disease called love of God and we get infected, or pure devotion is that association is like a mirror or a crystal stone, and our hearts will reflect if the heart is clean. Or there's so many different poetic ways of saying the same thing. What was the thing? There's no way to become a devotee except to learn what is this love of God by associating with the pure devotee, becoming infected with his love, imbibing the taste of his love. And then what happens in the after this sentence, distasteful? So when you do this, so he says, this makes material things distasteful. So that eliminates our anarthas. So he writes, so after getting this taste and our anarthas are eliminated, what happens? After the elimination of all the sins or obstacles on the path, next, one becomes attracted to Krishna. One becomes steady. One will have perfect taste. One will have even transcendental emotion. And that last one will be situated on the plane of loving service of the Lord. And all of these stages, they develop by association of the pure devotee. So this is a science of Krishna consciousness. And it's not that he's not, we had an expression when you wanted to have a relationship with someone and they were playing quote unquote hard to get. That you were pursuing this girl or this woman, or she's pursuing this boy or man, and he's playing hard to get. He's not reciprocating. Pure devotee is not like that. Bhagavad Gita 4:34, Srila Prabhupada says, the spiritual master is very, very kind. Very, very kind. He wants to share this with us. Not hard to get. And when he sees that we are willing to engage in the process that's described here, he automatically blesses us with more and more understanding. And inquiry, submission, and service. So what is that inquiry? How can I develop my love for Krishna? Submission is the only way by which we can develop our love for Krishna. The strength of our submission is the strength of our inquiry. We're trying to, please, I want to know how to develop love of Krishna. What is the strength of our inquiry? Our submissiveness, our opening of our heart to imbibe from him the taste of devotion. That's the strength of our inquiry. And their service is to engage in our Krishna consciousness cultivation with the taste that we got, that we imbibe from him. And when you do this for his pleasure, we do this for his pleasure. It's our gift. He gives us his gift and we give it back to him. That's our gift, that we're showing him that we got it. That's all he wants from us, that we got it, that we can receive it. He's so pleased that when he sees we want it, he gives us more, and it continues to grow.
So
This
I'd
is
like
the
to ask a
science
question
of
here.
Krishna consciousness. This
Yes.
is not truth.
My question here, or my understanding is, one can be submissive to the spiritual master, and then at the same time also be like a deviant person, right? He can inquire from the
So
spiritual.
we have to understand submission in the context of the things we're talking about.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that yes or no, sir, and salute. But Srila Prabhupada says that there has to be love. He says it over and over again. And then one follows. They don't become deviant because their only desire becomes to please him. Because when they get a little taste of what it feels like to be in his association, they want more. Like Srila Prabhupada said, material things we want, it only can give a little momentary satisfaction, and if you take more, you become disgusted. I mean, how many sweet balls can you eat or whatever? So, but it's not like that. What does Srila Rupa Goswami say? He said, Krishna did a very unfair thing. He only gave me one tongue and 2 ears. That if he gave me millions of tongues and millions of ears, then the bliss that is contained in the holy name, he's saying, then I would be able to appreciate a little bit of it. But he only gave me one tongue and only 2 ears. He's saying there's so much ecstasy in Krishna consciousness. So it just means that we're very, very neophyte and we've hardly begun. That's all it means. It means we're very, very neophyte, but at least let us try to understand the science. And that is the first step. That's the first step. I mean, you want to play a game, whether it's whether it's tennis or baseball or football or hockey, there's rules. You want to play. So we have to learn how to play this game called Krishna consciousness. It's a science. There's an approach. There's even in all of those games there are referees, and if someone does something wrong, there's a penalty. This is offensive, and we're penalized for making an offense. They go to the penalty box in the hockey games. They put them in the penalty box. So what is our penalty box? We remain conditioned souls. We're in the penalty box already. we're in the penalty box big time. So, but we want to get out of the penalty box. We don't have to serve the full penalty even. As soon as we make Srila Prabhupada's the referee, make a relationship with him, he says, okay, you're out of the penalty box. This is very wonderful. Should we read the next verse?
Yes, let's go for it.
I don't know. Okay,
we're going to be at 8 o'clock in about 20 minutes.
Okay. You tell I'll follow you.
Yes, let's see. The next verse is 24. Rupa, any questions, comments? Rob, Prabhu? Feel free to unmute and speak.
How's Robert Barron doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking.
Jai.
I'm so great, Robert. I'm so grateful to you for being willing to participate in these discussions. Feel free to add or subtract or whatever, Don't feel shy. We're all just babies in this spiritual life. We're just beginners, and we're sharing this understanding with each other, and that's all.
Well, I'd like to turn things around because Prabhupada also commented on this verse. So I'd like to go to that and how here it is. This was on a lecture in Vrindavan, August 4th, 1974. So Pradumna Prabhu says, in the last millennium, he's quoting Narada Muni, I was born as a son of a certain maidservant engaged in the service of the Brahmanas, who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. Srila Prabhupada then comments, he quotes Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.23. And then Prabhupada says here, so this is the previous life of Narada Muni. Narada Muni is explaining about his previous life to Vyasadeva. What was his previous life? The son of a maidservant. Maidservant means Shudrani, not born of a Brahmana family, low-class maidservant. So from this position, Narada Muni became the greatest Muni. He is describing his own life. And then Prabhupada goes, this is the most important point, that even, first of all, he was a boy, 3, 4, or 5 years old, no knowledge. And second point is that he was not born in a very high family, aristocratic family, rich family, no, maidservant's son. He did not give any importance. He did not give any information of his father also. Dasya. Dasya means there is no certainty. Who is a father? Dasya Putra, the formerly big men, especially Kshatriyas, just like when Vasudeva was married with Devaki, so with Devaki, many hundreds of maidservants were given with Vyasadeva. That is the system, especially amongst the Kshatriyas. When a Kshatriya king is married, then along with the queen, many girlfriends of the queen, they are also taken away. This is so nice solution of social problem. This is also nice solution of the social problem, yes, because female population is always greater than the male population, and therefore the royal order, they would accept all these girls as associates, and sometimes they would be pregnant, and there will be son. They were called Dasi Putra. They were not neglected. They were equally taken care of, but they were not the heir to the throne. Only the married wife's son, just like Vidura. Vidura's birth was like that. Vidura was not born of the queen, but maidservant, and Dhritarashtra, he took him as his brother. There was no discrimination because one is born of a maidservant. No, equal treatment. Only restriction was that he would not inherit the throne. That was the system. So I'm just kind of reading how Prabhupada gave further commentary on the situation that he was born in.
Then let's continue.
Go ahead.
So of course, it appears that Narada Muni was not that kind of Dasiputra, ordinary Dasiputra, because the such Dasi, or the maidservant, they do not come out for common service. they remain within the palace. So the point is that Narada Muni, in his previous life, he was not very recognized family, neither Brahmin nor nothing of the sort. Still, he became next life the Narada Muni. And what is the cause? What? The cause is Nirupito Balaka Eva Yoginam. I was appointed a boy servant of the devotees. The importance is that the devotee is so important that if anyone renders a little service, then he becomes elevated to the spiritual life. What Balaka? Balaka means there was a boy. You, boy, bring me this, or do this. Just wash my cloth, or just set up my bed, like that. This much servant, or wash this dish. So the devotional service is so powerful by doing this. This will be described later on, that simply by doing this little service to the yoginam, he was so blessed that next life he became Narada. This point, a very important point, that is being explained.
Yes, Ishan.
Now, we can read further because it's fascinating. It's all perfect. But the point is, as it occurs to me, that everything that Srila Prabhupada is saying is perfect. And yet what we were just reading is also perfect.
Right.
So he's saying that even if Srila Prabhupada says, wash this dish or clean the floor or whatever, or carry this package, that what Srila Prabhupada is stressing on is encouraging us as his students, as his children. Because Srila Prabhupada said to me one time that he said, you can think of me as your father, your spiritual father. So he's saying that if we take this service attitude towards a pure devotee, it's so powerful. It's so it's so purifying. It's so pious. So he's encouraging that the service should be done to the pure devotee. He's not specifying with exactly the way we were reading in that other 525 purport.
Yes.
He's not talking like that, but he's encouraging us that the whole business again of this spiritual life that we're trying to cultivate, the essential point is that we become servant of the pure devotee. Now, if we want to be more specific, how to become an intimate, then there are more detailed instructions. But so he has to start somewhere, because he's talking to people like us. At least get us to understand that that's the path. But there's more to it than
yes.
Then he gets more specific, more detailed. Then he says there must be a thick relationship. Then he's with the spiritual master. Then he says there must be a heart-to-heart connection with, quote unquote, with the spiritual master. Then he says one must have love for the spiritual master, quote unquote. Then he says one must have a very intimate connection with the spiritual master, quote unquote. Then he says one must become infected with the devotional feeling. Then he says prema bhakti ahoite. then that from him this love of Krishna is radiating like light is radiating from the sunshine. And that we have to place ourselves and receive that. So one can take it at whatever level they want, but if we want to go forward, then let's say, well, how does it work? How does it work? How do? But in the beginning, he's giving a lecture to all these boys and girls, hippies off the street, no spiritual knowledge, no culture. That if you want to advance, then you have to become the servant, menial servant of the pure devotee. And he's not taking it perhaps further in that lecture, and in many lectures, in so many lectures, basic, that because we're not ready for more. But for those of us who want more, that more is also available in the book, and in his classes. It's not a contradiction. It's just you know, 1 and 1 is 2 in grade 1, and 1 and 1 is 2 in university, but there might be a different explanation.
Yeah, it seems like Prabhupada, well, it doesn't seem like it. Prabhupada is giving instructions to different people at different times. You know, sometimes he's saying that, okay, just follow what I'm doing, just do it like this. So, and
not only that, they're saying, how do we know what to feel? And he said, you have no feeling.
Yeah. Oh, he said that. Yeah, you have no feeling. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't have. He was talking to somebody specific, but he's also talking to all of us and telling us we should have feeling.
Right.
That we take, instead of having feeling for your dog, have feeling for your spiritual master.
And he's saying it's a shame we don't have feelings?
No, he's saying, I'm not sure what you mean. Could you put that in different words?
From what I could hear, you were saying that Srila Prabhupada said that we don't have feelings. Is that correct?
Well, he was talking with one specific devotee who asked him a question. How will we know when Krishna is pleased or not pleased? Something to that effect. How will we know how will we know how to feel properly towards Krishna? And Srila Prabhupada said, you have no feeling. Just follow instruction. But because for that person, that for most of us, all we can do is try to follow instruction, because we can't, even though these things that we're discussing are written in the books, who has even heard of them? Who talks about them?
No one.
They don't. So we're not even capable of understanding the English language. I mean, we're not capable of grasping. But according to the desire, 10:10 in 10:10 in Bhagavad Gita, Tesham Satata Yuktanam. That if to those who are, Srila Prabhupada says, even if you don't understand the science of Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport to 10:10, even if you don't understand, if you're really sincere within your heart, Krishna gives us the ability to understand these things that we're discussing. They're right there on the page. They're, he wants us to understand them, but if we're not ready, according to our level of sincerity and our desire, these things are there. They are. but if I mean, people, I don't like to talk about it, but the people in ISKCON, for example, they think, oh, Srila Prabhupada, he didn't understand the philosophy. We're not supposed to make an offering of food that we prepare. We're supposed to offer to Krishna first, and then after Krishna eats, we offer it to our spiritual master, and he takes it as Mahaprasadam. Srila Prabhupada said no. But they said, oh, Srila Prabhupada didn't understand the philosophy. We've talked to other devotees in the Gaudiya Math, and it's in the scripture. We're supposed to offer to Krishna first. So they're thinking, oh, Srila Prabhupada made some mistakes. He doesn't know how to offer prasadam. So they don't know who Srila Prabhupada is. They have no conception who Srila Prabhupada is. Srila Prabhupada writes that a pure devotee can change the philosophy whenever he feels it's necessary in order to preach. I have the quotes in my computer that he has to adjust. He gives you a Gayatri mantra. He says you can worship the deity. He makes marriage ceremonies. He does so many things because he's not bounded by scripture. Krishna's pure devotee, and he's under Krishna's guidance. He makes changes that are suitable for us.
Sure.
To how we can come forward. But he married so many students, and then he said it's not a joke. And there's so many students. I had separations and ran after other people's husbands and wives.
Yeah.
And Srila Prabhupada said, no more, I'm not marrying anyone else. Finished with this business. Because we're so fallen. So Srila Prabhupada tries to get us, okay, just be obedient. But in the purport that I read today, he said it's not really possible to do that. Unless you have love for Srila Prabhupada, you won't have the strength to be obedient. Where is the power to be obedient? So he's trying to bring us all forward. At our
Rupa, you're saying something. You're saying something, but we can't hear.
Yeah, I have a problem.
Oh no, we cannot hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, this is better.
Okay. Yeah, I have a problem with my memory. Like I read something and I immediately forget that I read it, and I have to keep reading and rereading and rereading to try and sink it in. But I definitely have a challenge with that. So do you have any suggestions what I could do to improve my memory?
Well, like I admit to you that reading these books, we had classes. I lived with devotees for 10, 12 years in temples and community. And we had classes. And we read mostly out of duty. It's what we were supposed to do. But yeah, Srila Prabhupada, I sometimes tell you the story that he said he did a pantomime of a person injecting heroin into their arm, and he asked me, "Have you seen this? That you have seen this?" And I had seen that in the subways of London. I had seen people taking drugs right in the subway, in the car. They were rolling in the aisle as the car was moving. So I said, yes, I've seen that. Srila Prabhupada said, well, this Krishna consciousness is like that, that gradually it grows on us. It will grow on us. That whatever stage we're at, as we may think, oh, it's taking so long, but, or a year, or 10 years, or 20 years, or even one lifetime, but we've been here for millions of lifetimes. And we're, so one lifetime is nothing. The idea I'm trying to put forward is that if we just stick with it, it will grow on us. I guess that's an expression. What is it? It will become addicted, like Srila Prabhupada. We'll like it. I mean, I'm reading Krishna book now. I started from the beginning of a month or two ago, and I'm in the second volume, and I'm just very, very amazed. Wow, this is so beautiful. I'm very moved. And I wasn't moved before, but now when I'm reading, I'm moved by many of these descriptions. And, you know, like Krishna, we know a lot about Krishna from our books. We know, we were talking, you know, how from the material creation is a small part, I think like a quarter or something. And there are millions and trillions of universes and on and on. So, and they all come from Krishna. And how great he is that we can't conceive of some person who's so great. And and yet at the same time, that same person can walk in your room and shake your hand. And, you know, if a president of the country or, you know, Trump or one of those other fools, but he's so great, and yet he's so personal. He can appear before you as a person. What kind of a person is that? That how insignificant we are, and how infinitesimal we are to the whole, and he can have a personal relationship with any one of us when we're ready for that, when we're qualified for that. So the more we think of it, well, gee, he's such a beautiful person because he's so great, and yet he's willing to put aside his the fact that he's that great, and he's willing to forget it all about it, and he even likes it if you get mad at him or you scold him or you want to wrestle with him. He likes it. How can such a great person enjoy being friends with people like us? But he is. That's what we know about God. So the more we think about all these things, gradually, how can you even, we can't contain ideas like this. They're so fantastic. They're so incredible. And yet he's available. And he sends his pure devotee to attract us, and he does attract us. And he tries to explain how, and we're very slow, but it's very, very powerful. And he says that whatever attraction we have, it will never lose it. It'll sometimes go on the back burner if we become distracted or what have you, by this or that. But as soon as we pick it up from that, and he says, even because like Arjuna says, what happens to the unsuccessful yogi? And Krishna says, well, he gets born into a very prestigious family or the family of very devotional people. And he gets all opportunity to advance. And he picks up, we pick up from wherever we are, we just keep increasing it.
Right.
So it's wherever we are, you know, each of us is at the place we're at. And but it's cumulative, and we're responding to the therapy.
Right.
We're in the material world is the therapy, where it's for the crazy or disoriented spirit souls that want to be independent enjoyers. And he says, here, you can have a shot at it. Enjoy yourself. But it's so full of suffering that so we're responding to the therapy, and we want out. We say, tell me what to do, I'll do it. But it takes a little time for our hearts to get clean. And Srila Prabhupada says that very advanced devotees sometimes have problems, you know, and we're still conditioned, so we're still identifying. We're not even liberated from identity with the body, material body. We're beginners. So, but we can come together. That's, you know, that's the gift that we can. There used to be temples. I used to live in temples. Now we're more on our own, but we come together and keep growing in that way. I don't know if it's a great answer, but don't be discouraged. Be totally confident that this is going to catch you. It's going to catch your heart, and you're going to like it more and more, and you can't wait to finish your other duties so you can pick up a book and read about Krishna's pastimes or Lord Chaitanya. It'll grow. I don't know. I hope that just keep on keeping on.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Right. All right. Let's see here.
I can tell you that I was in despair myself. I have been a devotee for over 40 odd years, 45 odd years. And gradually this began to open up that Srila Prabhupada, I have to have a relationship with my spiritual master. And I prayed to him, and I asked him, how can I get closer to you? How can I cultivate these feelings? And little by little, we have to beg. We have to be like that.
How old are you, Ishan? Ishan, how old are you?
This is classified. It's classified information. No, I'll be 79 in March.
Oh, wow. Okay. Great.
So I'm, I'm pushing 80 years old, and the average insurance company wouldn't give me a policy at this point unless I pay a tremendously high premium. Very few people live to more than 100, and I think the Queen of England was 94 or 98, and she recently passed away. And most people, they deteriorate. But because I'm becoming more enthusiastic about my Krishna consciousness, I want to be here longer. I tell you, for most of my life, I felt, okay, I can't commit suicide because it's against the law. If we do, we can become ghosts or something like that, disembodied souls, and be in a kind of torture.
Yes.
With no, full of material desires and no material senses. The only thing you can do is try and get into somebody else's body,
Yeah.
and possess them. So I was thinking, well, I'm not very happy here. I'm actually unhappy, and I'm not enjoying my life. And so I'll just wait to die. I'll do what my duties. But now it's different. I really, I wanted more. I tried to chant my rounds every day and do the things we do every day, but it wasn't enough. I wanted more, and I asked for more. I prayed for more. I said, please, I need, what? And little by little, I began to understand the things that I'm trying to explain, based on her. And little by little, my courage increased. And little by little, I would get little taste. And I say, oh, that was really nice when I chanted japa this morning. I have to go back there. And then I couldn't find it the next day, that feeling. And then I would try and gradually, now it's becoming easier. It's easier. I'm still forgetful. I still get distracted, but I can feel Srila Prabhupada's presence by trying to feel his presence, and I can feel his love by inclining myself towards his presence. I can feel that, and so I want more of that. And so, like, I'm like that poem of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. The only way I can have these feelings, I don't even care if I never see, if he doesn't introduce me to Krishna, if I could just have that, because that's so nice, just to have his association. Okay, so I know that, but at the same time, I'm fruitive when I do my duties. I'm concerned about success and failure. If people don't talk to me nicely, my back goes up like a cat's back goes up when, I honor and dishonor disturb me. So I have so much material. I'm still, but in his association, those things don't bother me. But I forget, because it took some time to develop this habit of like 100 million births or something. I've been feeling like this, as an envious, conditioned soul, competing with other creatures and other conditioned souls, wanting to eat them and wanting to escape when they want to eat me, and on and on and on. So it takes some time. But as we get the taste and we want more, and we know that we're not capable yet of being fixed. So Bhaktivinoda said, oh, you who have this taste for Krishna consciousness, when will I hold your feet to my heart until the end of time? So I'm at this stage where when I'm in my saner moments, I'm saying, why can't I stay like this? Why can't I? But at least I'm beginning to have some little taste, and that has created a desire in my heart for more. So I don't know if my earbuds may have.
It's still working. You can keep speaking. Still working.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So all I can say is that yes, Krishna and Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, they are aware of us, and we should approach them in all humility before going to bed at night or before we fall asleep. Please help me to
Try.
Please help me how to come closer to my spiritual master. Honestly, if you said that every night for a month or a year, something's gonna change. You're gonna get it. It's just the way it is. They know what you want and they're waiting. It's not that they're hiding, they're waiting. They've already sent us an invitation. You know what RSVP is on an invitation card? You're invited to a wedding or a party. RSVP, it says, it's French. Répondez s'il vous plaît. Please give us your response. Will you come? They've already sent us an invitation. Bhagavad Gita is an invitation. They want us. They really want us. They want that Srila Prabhupada said, they want us more than we can ever want them. That's so that they're just waiting for us to reach out to them. So if I can encourage you to think in that way a little bit, then reach out, ask, pray like that, you know, and you'll get caught. Hare Krishna.
Excellent. So we're at 8:15, and
Okay.
any more questions, Rupa, or comments? Robert, questions, comments? I think we're down to the wire here.
How are you doing?
Just
Robert?
enjoying listening to you talk.
Right.
Yeah, I'm so grateful, you know, that you let me talk like this. Really, I am so grateful. It's good.
You have so much wisdom,
Oh,
Ishan.
yeah. Yeah, speak
We
to
want
my
your
wife.
wisdom.
Imbibe the mood. Don't go for the wisdom. Imbibe the mood. At least that's what.
No. You know that there's no joke about this. No, I mean it would be disgusting to be pretentious. I'm a neophyte devotee. I'm a conditioned soul. I identify with this body. Hunger and thirst are very meaningful to me, etc., etc. But you know, I'm encouraged a little bit. That's all, and I'm grateful to you for letting me talk like this. Really, yeah, really. Don't want to even think for a moment that
Well, I started Krishna consciousness not too long ago, so I'm very happy that I've met Ishan Prabhu and many devotees, and it really makes sense.
Narayan.
Yeah, I've met many. Well, I've met him and talked to devotees, you know. So this understanding that you're giving, or not you're giving, Prabhupada is giving through you, or whatever you want to call it. It's very enlivening, you know.
Yeah.
Because you know, it's a practical relationship which towards a transcendental personality that is always there, and it carries on life after life if you cultivate it.
Like one thought is like, okay, how many months have we been started these classes, these discussions? How many months? 2 months, 3 months?
Like 3 months, maybe.
3 months. Okay, for 3 months we've been talking about this subject that I keep coming back to it. I keep coming back to it. I keep coming. Oh, but it's only been 3 months, and you're hearing about it, so you're thinking about it. So you know, it's a process.
Yes.
And you're willing to hear about it. You don't. They won't even let me talk on other websites.
Mm.
They say this is not Krishna consciousness. We just follow instructions. But you're different. So there's something, a willingness in your heart to hear about such things, and you think they're nice ideas even. Wow. You know, Srila Prabhupada says if people say they're not devotees, but they say those devotional people are nice, he says they're making advancement.
Me
So-
and Ronald and Baron all think that you are a senior, very much exalted disciple of Prabhupada, and we want to learn as much as we can from you.
So let's talk about these things together. And, you know, it's the process. The speaker and the hearer are on the same platform. Maharaj Parikshit was hearing from Sukadev Goswami. Sukadev Goswami was perfect by speaking. Maharaj Parikshit was, and he said, unless Sukadev Goswami was enlivened because Maharaj Parikshit was wanting to hear and asking so many questions. And we need each other. That's the process. We're on the same platform. We're on the same platform.
Prabhus, I'm going to go
We're
to sleep
sharing.
now.
Okay. Yes, Rupa.
Hare Krishna.
So nice to chat with
Yeah.
you.
Say your prayers before bed.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Jai, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so I wrote some notes down. Well, you know, some key words: obedience, submissive, render service, inquiry, a relationship, and pleased. So if one develops a relationship, transcendental relationship with Srila Prabhupada, all these things are automatic. You know, you don't have to think of these things. You know,
Yeah.
obedience automatically comes, submissiveness automatically comes. What else is
I
there?
have one quote.
Yes.
I have one quote where Srila Prabhupada says, it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita, if one has love for the spiritual master, everything will be revealed. Everything will be revealed.
Jai. Transcendental.
It's like he can do anything he wants, but the point is, he really wants to share Krishna his enthusiasm for Krishna consciousness with us. He really,
Jai.
and if we love him, he just reveals himself to us, and we learn from him.
What is the devotional feeling?
Yeah. And we want more, and it grows, and at a certain point, I have other quotes. At a certain point, he will take away the influence of the modes of material nature, and we won't be affected anymore by material desire. It won't interest us at all. As we become more intimately, there are verses in the Bhagavatam that say, without any break, fixed in relationship, in devotion, without any break. So that's in front of us to aspire for that. Yeah. But just getting the initial taste makes us want to start to hanker for it. Then we're in good shape. Yeah.
Here we go. Here it says, Avyabhyacharani. This is from Bhagavad Gita chapter 13 through 12, without any break. I looked it up here.
Oh, really?
Avyabhyacharani. It says here, without any break.
Approaching the bona fide spiritual master.
Yes. This is that famous shloka here. What is it saying here? Amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa shantirarjavam, acharya upasanam, socham stairyam atma vinigraha. So that 12, from 9 to 12. So this word you mentioned, without a break, Abhyabhyacharani yoga, Prabhupada uses here. Where is it? Where is it?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's all a question. How do we get? It's all a question of how much desire we have for that. And when the desire will be so strong, then there won't be any break. We'll become a little bit mad from a material point of view. We'll become like mad. These people, all they want to do is talk about Krishna. All they want to do is chant Hare Krishna.
That is the life and soul.
Yeah, that's where we're going. That's where we're going.
If one has an imperfect spiritual master, all these things cannot be cultivated because you're directing this towards an imperfect person who's not situated on the transcendental platform, right? It throws a wrench in the. You might have these feelings towards this person. That feeling is bona fide, but he cannot reciprocate in that.
He can't give. He can't share with you what he doesn't have.
Yes.
He doesn't have connection with Krishna. How can he open the door for us? How can a spiritual master has the, he doesn't just give us instruction, he gives us, he endows us, he can bless us with, by his will, he can give us realizations, but he has to be empowered to do that. So I mean, another person, what if I memorize the Bhagavad Gita, or even if I memorize all of Srila Prabhupada's classes and I could say them word for word, so I could have disciples. But I can't bless anyone with, I can't reveal Krishna to anyone. I can't reveal what is a person's eternal spiritual nature to them. I can't introduce them to Krishna. I don't have that relationship with myself. So being it's ludicrous. It's like it's counterfeit. It's like say I dress up like a policeman and go out on the street, but I'm not really a policeman. I can't perform the functions of a policeman, or whatever. People impersonate other people, or say a person tries to be a doctor and they never went to medical school. They will be taken by the law and imprisoned and punished. Similarly, a person who tries to be a spiritual master who's not authorized to do that, he's misleading people. He's making other people go through the cycle of birth and death. He's a criminal. He's a murderer. He's causing people to repeat in the cycle of birth and death. He's going to be punished for that. He can't. On the one hand, he'll be punished, but on the other hand, like you were saying, he can't give that knowledge of Krishna to anyone. He can talk, but let him talk, at the time of death. Then let him talk. They squawk, the strong hand comes. Krishna says he's death personified. So it's silly, but people have to be intelligent to accept such silly people as their spiritual master. What does it mean? It's like joining a social club or something. It's a fad. It's like we're going to have a spiritual master, or I'm a young person and this is neat. I joined this temple or something. It's cool. This is really cool. But you can't get. I don't know enough. I mean, maybe they're chanting Hare Krishna. I don't know, but Srila Prabhupada says even these demons who hated Krishna, like Sisupala and Jarasandha and so many, Vakra. But Srila Prabhupada says they're all getting purified. That comes, I think he goes to the Vaikuntha planets. I'm not sure if he, as opposed to merging into the Brahman effulgence. But some of them actually go to Vaikuntha because they're always thinking of. So Krishna's, Srila Prabhupada says, prophylactic. I don't know exactly what the word means, but purifying. So these people, I don't know. I don't know what their position is, but
but shastrically we can understand that insufficient guidance is very dangerous in one's spiritual life, and we don't wish that on anyone. We want people to get sufficient and proper guidance from the pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada is transparent by medium. Jai. Okay, so Ishan Prabhu, thank you very much. Robert Baron Prabhu, and our online viewers. We'll do our reading next week on Sunday, and we'll continue 1524.
Hare Krishna.
All right. Okay, Ishan Prabhu, thank you very much. Robert, will
1524.
Yes, 1524. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Robert.
Okay, Ishan Prabhu, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Glories.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
All